May be seated. It's now 2:40 p.m. on the court clock. We are reconvening following a lunch recess in Case 16 CRI 187, State of Ohio versus Shawn Grate. All 12 jurors and 5 alternates have returned to the courtroom. Defendants present with counsel. As our counsel for the State of Ohio, we had concluded with witness 29 prior to lunch break. Your next witness, Mr. Tennell.
Tamara Welan. Could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Tamara Welan.
And spell your name, please.
Tamara. Last name Welan, W-E-L-A-N.
All right. And where do you live?
I live in Nankin, Ohio.
Okay. And how long have you lived in Nankin?
I'd say maybe 15 years.
Okay.
There.
And in 2016, were you working at Walmart?
Yes.
And do you still work at Walmart?
No.
Okay. When did you leave Walmart?
I had a motorcycle accident, so I had a surgery on April 4th and another surgery on November 2nd.
Okay.
So I have not returned.
Of 2017?
16, 17. Yes, 17 was the surgery. 16 was the accident. That's correct.
And when you worked at Walmart, what did you do?
I was a service writer in the automotive department for the last 16 years.
Okay. And what does that position entail?
Basically, you come in and I fit you with tires, battery, oil changes, fielding questions on the floor, answering phone calls, checking people in, checking people out.
And did you have set hours?
I did. I worked usually Sunday through Thursday.
Okay. From when to when?
7 to 3, 7 to 4.
Okay. And did you know Lori Spillick?
I did. I do.
How do you know Lori?
Through church. I'm not sure exactly. I think I might have met her at a breakfast. But I've known her for, I guess, maybe about, I don't know, 10 years.
Okay.
Or more.
At a church breakfast, do you think?
It was. It was.
And did you attend the same church?
We do currently now. I went to her old house church, or actually her old Eastgate was the church she was attending. I used to attend there, and I think she attended after I left, although I was kind of in and out, but she goes to the same house church I go to now.
Okay. And when you say house church, what does that mean?
That means we meet on Saturdays in our rabbi's home, and we study Torah and share a meal.
Okay. And you do that yet still today?
Correct.
Is she working on learning Hebrew?
She is.
Okay. And were you working at Walmart on September 11th, 2016?
Sunday, yes.
Okay. That was a Sunday?
It was a Sunday.
And what time did you finish up?
3 o'clock.
And what happened when you left work?
I was on my way to see Lori to tell her that I had received a call from the police department that previous Saturday morning at 10 o'clock, and they were wanting to know where Elizabeth was. And I wanted her to know that I had given them her phone number, and also to inquire if she knew there was another missing girl.
Okay. And what happened along the way?
I was on my way out of Walmart, and just right there on the berm, right across from, I'd say, Home Depot, she was walking with a gentleman, and so I stopped and picked them up. Okay. Lori got in the back seat, and he got in the front seat. That was Shawn.
Okay. Had you met this individual previously?
No, I had heard about him, but I had not met him. Okay. That was the first time I'd met him.
And so I take it there were introductions made?
Yes.
All right. And then did you tell Lori what you wanted to tell her about the police department?
Oh, yes. Yes. Right away.
Okay. And that was there in the car?
Yes.
Was there any sort of appreciable reaction from Mr. Grate as you told him that you had directed the police department to Lori?
You know, I really was not focused on that. I was more focused on, because I was on my way to see her, and there she was.
Okay.
And just letting her know that there was another missing girl. And but I did engage in conversation with him after after that.
And what was that conversation with Mr. Grate?
It was made chit-chat, about why he was in the area. He said he was in the area because of a relationship. He must have alluded to work because I offered him work. I was wanting to build a shed, and we exchanged phone numbers. Actually, I dialed his number on my phone, and there was no answer. And he said he didn't have his phone.
Okay.
And
then what happened?
well, when we finally got to Lori's place, he got out of the vehicle, and he didn't wait for Lori, which I thought was kind of strange. And he also didn't head to Lori's apartment. He went the other way, and rather quickly. And prior to him getting out of my vehicle, his phone fell out of his pocket. So I don't know whether he gave me the correct phone number or why it didn't at least buzz. Or
But at any rate, he had told you he didn't have his phone.
he did. That is correct. I must not have it with me.
There was
Yeah.
a phone, at least, on him.
Evidently.
Okay. And which direction did he head if it wasn't towards Lori's apartment?
Lori's apartment was here, and I was parked here, and he was headed here.
Okay. Anything in particular over in that direction? Or?
Well, I'm guessing Elizabeth lived over that way, so I don't know where he was going or what was going on.
And at that point, Elizabeth was missing. That's why the police department had
Correct.
contacted you. Okay. You were aware Elizabeth was missing?
Yes. Yes.
And
She had also come out to both her and Lori had come out to the house church, which is why the police called me.
okay. On just one time or more than one time?
More than one time, but it was actually another house church.
That was a different house church.
Correct.
Okay. All right. And after Grate got out of the car, what did you do?
Lori and I just talked for a few minutes. I didn't stay long. I left.
Okay. About what time would you say it was when you left?
Well, I got off work at 3 o'clock, so it takes about 5 to 6 minutes to walk from the time clock to my car. I pulled over on the side of the road, picked them up, and it is probably maybe a 10-minute drive. So I'd say I was probably on my way home before 4.
Okay. And looking back on it, did you find anything strange about that event?
Oh, yeah.
What's that?
Well, he was very solemn. He didn't say a whole lot initially, especially when I was talking about, he didn't really say anything. But again, I was kind of focused on talking to Lori at that time. And just the fact that he made the beeline after he left my car. And I also thought it was kind of strange that, initially before giving him my phone number, I remarked to him that I would just get his number from Lori. And Lori was like, I don't have it. And I thought that was kind of different.
Okay. And by he, you mean Shawn Grate?
Correct.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Just a minute, ma'am. Cross-examine.
No questions. This witness got your name.
Thank you, and you're excused.
Can you tell us your name, please?
Curtis Dorsey,
And how are you employed?
City of Ashland Police Division.
And how long have you been with the police division?
Nearly 12 years.
And what are your duties with the police division?
I'm currently a general detective.
Okay. And how long have you been a general detective?
About 13 months.
And what were you doing back in September of 2016?
I was working the patrol division on the road,
And what shift?
day shift,
And day shift runs from when to when?
6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And do you recall the morning of September 13th, 2016?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a call for service that was out of the ordinary?
Yes, sir.
What was that?
Potentially someone who had been abducted.
And where did you go?
363 Covert Court.
And did you respond to that location by yourself?
No, sir.
Who was with you?
Lieutenant Schreffler and Sergeant Cox.
Now, did you all arrive separately?
Lieutenant Schreffler and I arrived together.
Yeah. Were you riding in the same vehicle?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, did you go to this call, as they say, lights and sirens?
No, sir.
Why not?
Given the nature of the call, we didn't want to alert anybody. We were trying to be stealthy.
Okay. And approximately what time were you dispatched to this location?
It was after 6:30 in the morning. I'm not sure of the exact time.
And what were the conditions? What kind of day was it?
I'm sorry.
What kind of day was it when you responded?
Just a normal day. No adverse weather or anything like that that I can recall.
Okay. And what were the lighting conditions at Covert Court?
It was just getting daylight out. I mean, enough that you could see well.
So what did you and your fellow officers do?
Well, I parked my patrol vehicle on Covert Court, just south of two houses, behind a block building. I got out of my patrol vehicle and met with Lieutenant Schreffler just to the south of the houses. From there, we approached.
And then what happened?
We started to check through windows, trying to be quiet at the same time. We started to check doors. Two houses on that street are nearly identical, so we weren't sure exactly which house we needed to go to. So we kind of went back and forth, checking doors, trying to peek through, see if we could see anything, and try to figure out which house we needed to be at.
And was the dispatcher relaying you information from the caller?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it was your understanding the caller was still on the line?
Correct.
Were you eventually able to locate the caller?
Yes.
How so?
Well, as we're checking, I had pulled on a door that the storm door was kind of tight. It was stuck on the frame. The dispatcher had told us that she heard us and to come back. So I was at the north house and I came around the corner, and when I came around, I saw her outstretched hand through the glass.
And the glass of a window or of the door?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe it was the door, but I don't know for certain.
So what'd you do?
At that point, the interior door was still locked. The screen door or storm door that I had pulled on earlier, I was able to force it open. But again, the interior door was still locked. I didn't want to force the door open in case I didn't get through. So I had asked the dispatcher to tell her to unlock the door.
And did she immediately respond?
Fairly quickly, she did unlock the door. It felt like a long time.
Okay. Probably felt longer than it actually was.
Yes.
And when the door opened, what happened?
I met Lori Sevillett. She was standing in the doorway fully nude. The best way to describe her is complete and utter shock. She couldn't move. Sorry. Stared straight ahead, and she was just frozen. A face I'll never forget.
And what did you and your fellow officers do?
So at this point, I wanted her to come out of the house, so I waved my hand and encouraged her to come out. She didn't seem to want to, but I just tried to be really encouraging and tell her, come out, and she eventually came out.
And did you or your fellow officers direct her anyway?
I don't know at that point. I know that she came out of the house, and I know that she was in the care of Sergeant Cox. From that point, honestly, I don't know where she went.
Okay.
Sorry.
What did you do?
I looked over at Lieutenant Schreffler, and I said, "Are you ready?" And he gave me the nod, and we went inside to try and find the defendant.
And did you locate the defendant?
Yes, sir.
Where?
He was in a bedroom on the first floor, lying in a bed.
And what was he doing?
He was sleeping, maybe half out of it, and just lying on the bed.
And so what did you and Lieutenant Schreffler do?
Well, I requested that he show his hands a few times. He did so after a few commands, and Sergeant Cox at some point had come back in, and he put handcuffs on him.
Then what happened?
At that point, he was nude. I had him sit up on the bed. I had seen a pair of shorts on the floor and picked them up for him to put on. I believe I even assisted him in putting those on. From that point, I ran his name and date of birth through dispatch.
Did you notice anything about the room?
Not initially, no. The room it looked like someone had been staying in it. That's the best I can say.
Okay. And did you then take the defendant out of the house?
Yes.
And where did you put him?
In the back of Sergeant Cox's patrol vehicle.
Okay. And then what did you do?
At that point, I spoke with him while he was inside the vehicle.
Now, prior to speaking with the defendant, at some point did you administer to him what are commonly known as Miranda rights?
Yes.
Where did that take place?
That took place in the bedroom before we walked out.
Okay. And who was present for that?
Sergeant Cox.
And did it appear that the defendant acknowledged an understanding of those rights?
Yes, sir.
How did he do that?
Well, he shook his head and said he understood. And then when I talked to him further outside, I reiterated that I had read him that and made sure he understood, and he said he did.
Now, were you equipped with a recording device?
Yes.
And did you record the conversation as it transpired outside in the cruiser?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to review that recording prior to coming to court today?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to reproduce an accurate recording of that interview?
Yes, sir.
Should defense counsel states 263 and 264? Show you what we marked as States Exhibit 263. Do you recognize that proceeding?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
This is the audio disc of the interview recording.
Okay, and how do you know that's in fact the recording?
I have reviewed this disc and also initialed it.
And then you initial?
Correct.
So those are your initials on the face of the disc?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this audio recording contained in States Exhibit 263, it's been redacted in part, correct?
Correct.
So it's not a complete, I guess, start to finish recording of the interview,
That's correct.
but the portions as redacted you've reviewed,
Correct.
are they accurate?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I guess at this point we'd ask permission to play 263.
I believe this is covered by the stipulation, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just the transcript portion?
Transcripts, okay, transcripts.
Did I hear that correct? No objection, Mr. Whitney?
No objection.
Okay, thank you.
Now, how do Your Honor wish to deal with the transcript issue?
Well-
Transcripts so that people can follow along.
That's what I thought you were going to do. That's,
Maybe you want me to pass them out?
yeah, that was what the stipulation was all about, wasn't it?
Correct. I wasn't sure if there was a procedure you wanted to follow.
No, pass them
Okay,
out.
I'll pass them out.
Are you going to be playing that through the TV audio?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For the record, the transcript is state 262.
It is 264, Your Honor.
Oh, 264, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will want to collect these after it's played. Just hand them down to the end this way, and we'll collect them at the end. And looking them back later if needed.
Hey, Jim. Can you grab his glasses? They should be on the nightstand. Okay. All right, man. So you remember I read your Miranda? You understand all that? Your Miranda rights and all that? Okay. And you're Shawn, what's your last name again? Grate. G-R-A-T-E. Okay. Alright. So, obviously, again, I already told you, you can't crash in an abandoned house. I mean, it's just one of those things. I understand that you're homeless, you need a place to crash. It is what it is, but you still can't do it, so, you know what I mean? Do you know how many nights you've stayed here? Roughly. What's that?
Not sure.
I mean, just a guesstimate. Oh, really? That long? Man, how'd you go notice? That's kind of crazy. Anybody ever come in? Like the owners or anything? Or? Huh? Did they?
Someone did.
Gotcha. Did you ever leave? I mean, did you like grocery shop? And was there groceries and stuff in there? Is it? Oh, really? Where are you working?
We're going to take a lot. Okay. Haven't started yet.
Which one? On Main Street. Is that looking promising?
We got an interview at National Latex.
Oh, cool.
Starting to turn around.
Right. So the main reason for the homelessness is probably money. I mean, have you struggled getting a job or? I've
been staying in the woods.
Here in Ashland or Mansfield? Yeah. How long did you stay in the woods?
2 weeks. Maybe more.
Did you have a tent or anything?
Just on the woods.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that was maybe like the beginning of August, really? Around that time frame? July, okay.
Well, actually, July 4th, I stayed in these woods to watch the fireworks.
Okay.
And that was like a month later.
And then later you ended up here?
June.
June. Oh, June's when it all started? Okay. So what, like, you've been staying here since the beginning of August, roughly? It's September 13th now. I don't know if you know what the date is, but. So a little more than a month? A month and a half, maybe? Okay. The electric works and everything?
Electric works.
Oh, nothing else? No water or anything? Okay. Just taking it in buckets or something? Okay. How do you shower and stuff? Oh, you can just shower in there? Just use cold water, basically?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Kind of a survivalist, aren't you? Do what you gotta do?
Not my choice.
Yeah. So once you say money's not the issue then?
Yeah, money's the issue.
But, I mean, was it hard to find a job? Is that why you ended up? Or are you basically just looking for a place?
I'm tired of staying in that one building over there. Not that one, but the other one. Big green wooden thing.
Oh, the big abandoned building? How long did you stay in there? A week?
It's nerve-wracking because so many people come in and out of there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of kids I think that run in and out of there. Nobody ever saw you?
Just to avoid situations. Yeah, I might hurt them or something, I don't know. Them might hurt me.
Right.
I don't want to get off hurt.
Yeah, you get running in there though, you never know what could happen, you know?
Yeah, it's wrong group.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So it's nerve-wracking.
So money's kind of an issue, but you're obviously capable of getting a job. I mean, you're a smart guy, you're capable physically of working. So basically, you're trying to stay off the radar. I mean, that's really the only excuse is to stay off the radar. What's her name? The girl. I don't even know her name. Okay. And how do you know her again?
We spent a lot of time together. We go eat lunch every day.
Okay. Here in Ashland? Where do you guys normally go?
Rock Center.
Okay. Did she meet you there, or do you guys go together?
I got her place to pick her up. On my feet.
Oh, you walk? Okay. Where's she live?
Those apartments down here.
Like on Cleveland Avenue? Almond Tree? Yeah. What are they by? You know, any landmarks or anything?
That's okay.
One on Main? You talking about Village Green? Stony Creek?
City Creek. Yeah, I'm not too sure actually.
So like a big apartment complex where there's a bunch of buildings right off Main Street.
Yeah, probably on that.
Yeah, probably so you cross the creek to get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Stony Creek. Gotcha. Okay. So you would walk there, you guys meet up there and walk to the Croc Center for lunch. Now, did you know her before coming to Ashland?
No,
Oh, you just met her. Okay. Like how long have you been
internationally.
since you've been in Ashland? So right away. So even when you were staying in that abandoned building over there, you knew her? Was it when you moved here?
Once I went to the Croc Center.
Oh, you went to the, okay. So you met her at the Croc Center? Okay.
We go and play tennis and stuff.
Where do you play tennis?
Yeah, brought down here. Very, about 20-minute walk.
Okay. What's by it? There's a couple different tennis courts.
One right now. There's more.
What's by it? The tennis courts that you play?
Swimming pool out there.
Okay. So you go to the Brookside Park?
Yeah, the books are, yeah.
Okay. That's where you guys can play tennis. How many times do you think you've done that? 4 times? Maybe. Okay. So other than playing tennis together and going to the Croc Center for lunch and stuff like that, what would you consider the relationship? You guys like dating, or are you just friends, or
Talking about marriage.
talking about marriage? How long's that talk been going on?
Couple weeks.
Okay. Hold up like you wanted something. So you guys like engaged or anything, or you're just kind of in stages of talking about it?
Pretty serious about it. And then she's like, I do one little thing wrong and there's that. You know,
So it gets thrown out the window pretty quick.
yeah, quick.
What do you guys argue about?
Things that I say that aren't so perfect. Yeah, she's nothing perfect.
Like what? Give me an example. What are some things that you say? Like insulting things?
Oh, no.
Or you just say the wrong
No,
thing?
just like jokes or like anything. She has a comment about it. It's like, dang.
Like what kind of subject?
Well, I like jokes. What's been joking around? Mama jokes.
She didn't like the mama jokes, huh?
Oh no, we get along.
Why doesn't she like those? Is she offended by them or what?
Yeah, she's more mature than that.
Oh, gotcha. How old is she now? And how old are you?
40.
40. Doesn't like the mama jokes, huh? Anything else that you say that sets her off? It sounds like it's kind of a common
The
thing.
devil, in a way, created sin. You know what I mean? Whoever's our creator is responsible for everything else as well. So, God's so perfect. You know, there's sin, but it's will.
Right.
You understand that? And that's good.
So she doesn't like that you say basically that God created the sin? Is that what you're saying?
When she acts all perfect, like when she don't do nothing wrong, then I'll throw little things that look like that. Like God tempted Adam, you know, and God tested the children.
Right.
Stuff like that. Find God.
So what's usually the subject when the sin comes up? I mean, like swear words and stuff like that, or?
No, I don't really cuss around her.
Oh, okay. What do you do that she doesn't like that's bringing that topic even up, you know? I mean,
Down to me, like all these Bible verses and ones. I'm just not gonna listen, you know. We have a good relationship.
right?
Well, Dad, I don't know how it is now. But it's up to her. She writes me. I don't know.
So she's kind of religious then? Is that why she's going to the Croc Center? Yeah, is that? Does she work or anything?
No,
Oh, she doesn't. So she's also getting assistance from?
Okay, we'll work.
Yeah. So what else doesn't she like? I mean, the mama jokes thing was only one time. Can you make it sound like she's mad at you quite frequently?
Oh, no, she don't. We get along really good.
Okay.
We get along really good.
So the marriage thing just gets thrown out the window when she does get mad at you. Like, how many times do you think that's happened?
A couple times.
Okay. So it's not like an everyday
And
thing.
married and divorced in a day.
Yeah. You haven't popped a question or anything? It's just kind of been like a focus discussion?
Yeah, it's just an open discussion.
Okay. So how long would you say you've actually known her?
July.
Since July? Okay. And have you started seeing each other like more frequently?
Every day.
About every day now? But how does it start out? Does it start out every day? Or can you guys kind of...
Started out, but I'd be busy for a few days.
Okay.
But get a job to save a lot. We've been working.
Right. So would you consider that you guys are basically dating then?
Yeah.
Because before you mentioned that she was a friend, but it sounds to me like if you're talking marriage, then you're pretty much dating, right? Okay. So you guys have obviously been intimate together. You haven't? I mean, you guys are staying together, right? How many times has she stayed here? Is this the first? She never stayed the night? You guys are talking marriage and she never stayed the night?
I've never been in my apartment, but I stand in the door.
You never been inside?
Be alone.
So the temptation of being intimate is what you're trying to avoid. Because you know it all. Is that on her end or both of you?
First, it don't matter. It's both worth it. Both I struggle with a lot of things.
You initiated first or she did?
I don't initiate because I know how she did.
How was that? That she used to wait?
Yeah, she wants to wait.
Okay.
But then when I sit around and stuff, she just sits on my lap. Stuff like that. It's okay. I try to do that. It's all hers, but it's nice. I don't even say anything. At first, like,
So are you
how her day was and everything.
right? Is this like a daily thing where she comes and sits on your lap? When does she?
She didn't really realize that she wanted to marry me.
Okay. So within the past couple weeks? Okay. You guys hold hands and kiss and stuff like that? None of that?
Okay.
She just sits on your lap. What's she do when she's sitting on your lap?
Talk.
Okay. So how are you avoiding the temptation? I mean, if you're not even kissing her or holding hands or anything like that, why is there so much temptation there? I mean, it seems like you guys are like distancing yourself from each other. You know what I mean? So I don't understand why there was so much tension there as far as temptation. She doesn't trust herself
Yeah, to be alone.
to be alone with you.
Yeah, I had that problem before in the past. Other men.
Okay. Where
She barely escapes it.
they take advantage of her, or she can't control her own desire?
She has her desires.
Okay. I got you.
She's normal, but she's trying to do it the right way, proper, like the Bible says.
Okay. So is this the first time she stayed then? The last night was the first night she stayed? So what happened last night between you guys? You guys just hanging out, watching movies? I mean, what was your night like? Why is that? What happened? That's why we're here, man. I'm trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Something obviously went on, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, just start at the beginning of the night. When she comes over, you guys are hanging out. I mean, how does it unfold from there? Did you sit on your lap again? No? So what happened? I can't understand just a nightmare. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like a nightmare, but
It's a nightmare.
I get it, but I
Can't blame it on one person.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, that was kind of lost control from them. And she regained, she's like, everything's all better.
She what? She said everything's all better.
Yeah, that's okay, like the temptation stuff. You have a good day, long walk,
Yeah.
like that.
So you have a long walk and come back to the apartment or house, I guess. And the temptation took over, is what I'm gathering, right? So what happened? The temptation took over for both of you? Or the temptation took over for her or for you? Or what happened here?
I'm not too sure what
I'm sorry, what? Off control?
lost control of the situation.
Okay. Well, you are adults. I mean, I realize that, you know, she may not have wanted to because of the biblical aspect of it. You may not have wanted to as well. But you guys are adults. I mean, it's not illegal to have sex. You know what I mean? You don't have to feel you don't have to feel that awful unless, you know, she didn't want to and it got out of hand. You know what I mean?
Later, get out of here probably.
Yeah. How do we get out of here? What do you mean?
I wasn't done, I guess. I don't know.
You were done?
Yeah, I wasn't done.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Again. One more.
Okay. But she was done, probably?
Probably more about some more.
Okay. You guys had a rough night, it sounds like. So what happened? Why was she, what do you mean she was born out? 56. Probably not a good time, but I can't. What do you mean she was worn out? Okay. What was going on? Okay. Okay. So how long did it take you to finish?
A lot of it's just the battle, the sin,
Right.
it comes down to it.
For her, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, mainly for her. I can accept it. I understand what desires. I wouldn't get just jump in marriage near. It's better at least sin than to marry
Right.
and have kids for their lives as well.
Right. Okay.
Is she okay?
Yeah, she's fine. So you guys are having a good time, and you mutually decide that this is okay, and that you're going to have sex, correct?
Possibly. I'm not easily sure. Thought it was mutual. Then, don't know.
So,
Like, she started flipping out.
so she kind of flipped out immediately, and you said, "I'll slow down and just calm down."
Alright, so I just stopped, right, and waited a little bit.
Okay. And then you went back.
I was trying to get it, see.
Okay. And that's when she wanted you to, she basically wanted to give it up. Stop trying. Okay. How many times do you think he told you to stop?
She said it like that, that's just saying she hurts.
Okay. And you told her you would slow down and just to relax, basically. Okay. Were you able to finish then? After about 10 minutes, you said? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to take you on station, and I think they want to talk to you a little bit more.
Officer, at the time you were conducting this interview, did you really have a firm idea of what had happened?
No, I did not.
Okay. What was your purpose in having this conversation with the defendant?
I could see that something had happened with Lori. Obviously, the way the call came out, the way that we extracted her from the house. That was my goal, is to figure out what had happened with her.
Okay. And at some point, was there some radio communication to you?
Yes, sir.
And what did they want?
That was Lieutenant Schreffler, and he wanted me to bring him on station.
Okay. Take the defendant on station.
Correct.
Okay. So what'd you do when the interview concluded?
I drove him to the station.
Okay. And did you turn him over to somebody else once you got there?
I did. I took him to the Detective Bureau interview room. I couldn't tell you who I turned him over to.
Okay, but he was left there,
Correct.
and that was your involvement,
Yes,
at least
sir.
that morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Cross-examined.
No questions to this witness, Judge. Thank you.
Thank you. You're excused, Officer Dorsey.
Captain Lay?
solemnly swear affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter to be the truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, I do.
Just tell us your name, please.
David Lay, L-A-Y.
And how are you employed, sir?
I'm a captain with the Ashland Police Division,
And how long have you been with the Ashland Police Division?
25 years.
And how long have you been captain?
8.
And back in September of 2016, what were your duties?
At the time, I was leading the Detective Bureau in investigations.
Okay, and did you have occasion to become aware of a missing persons report referencing Elizabeth Griffith?
Yes, sir.
And did that become an investigation?
It did.
And who was assigned to investigate that matter?
Myself and the Patrol Bureau.
Okay. And when did that report get made to the Ashland Police Department?
It was reported on September 7th and assigned on September 8th.
And you assigned it, who did the assigning?
It would have been myself and Sergeant Alting at the time. He was
Okay.
training.
And so you took on that investigation?
Correct.
What was your first order of business?
Well, on the 8th, I contacted the complainant, touched base with her, asked Patrol Officer Hine to contact Verizon for a emergency notification on Elizabeth Griffith's last phone number. And we had a ping that pinged over on Walker Lake Road. And we went over and checked that out. There was a church there, but nobody was at the church. We didn't see anything. And then later that afternoon, we served a search warrant that Lieutenant Schreffler wrote at Elizabeth Griffith's apartment.
Okay. Now reference this pinging of the phone. Is that something the phone company has the ability to do at your request?
Correct, in an emergency situation.
Okay, and so you decided to make that request of them and see if you couldn't locate Elizabeth by use of the telephone?
Yes.
All right. Did it eventually turn out that they were pinging the correct phone?
No, we learned later that they were pinging the wrong device.
Okay, so where they were finding this device to be active somewhere, it was in fact another number the wrong number they were pinging.
I'm not sure the tech behind it, but yeah, it was the wrong one.
Okay, but it wasn't anything that was going to be fruitful.
Correct.
Did that delay cause some confusion with your investigation?
It did, because there were 2 or 3 places that we checked out.
Okay, would Verizon then call you and tell you that there was
No,
some
law
activity?
enforcement has to contact them direct to get updates on the pings.
Okay, so then they were in fact giving you updates, and then you were running off to see if you couldn't find something there.
That, or there was one ping where we sent a teletype to adjoining agency and county because it was hit in that jurisdiction. We see if they could locate them.
Okay, and so there's a lot of running around caused by pinging the wrong number.
Correct.
So ultimately that was not fruitful
No, sir.
at all? Okay. Now you said you executed a search warrant. Where'd you do that?
242 Matthews, apartment L,
And whose apartment is that?
Elizabeth Griffiths.
And why did you execute a search warrant?
We were trying to track her whereabouts, if we could find any indication of where she was or where she might have went.
Okay. And did you make entry into the apartment?
We did.
And what'd you find, if anything?
We found a couple spiral notebooks with some names and telephone numbers in them, and we found a couple receipts, one from Walmart, one from Aldi's here in town. They were dated August 15th and 16th, respectively.
Okay. And why did you find those items to be of interest?
Well, the notebooks with the phone numbers, we thought we could call some of them and see if they'd seen her. And the receipts, we thought that we could track her last known movements through surveillance video at both of those businesses.
Okay. And were you able to, I guess, track her last known movements?
Yeah, we were with the times and dates on the receipts.
And what were her last known movements?
Well, she was at Walmart, I think that was the 15th, and then at Aldi's on the 16th. And we have her on surveillance video where Ashland Transit dropped her off, picked her back up. No one was with her.
And that was at Aldi's?
Yes.
Okay.
And Walmart.
And Walmart?
Yes.
And where did Ashland Transit deposit her after Aldi's?
That I don't know.
Okay. What date was she at Aldi's?
I believe that was the 16th.
States it's in 268, 268. Marked as States Exhibit 268. What is that?
There are Aldi's receipts and Walmart receipts in here.
If you go ahead and open that exhibit up.
Okay.
And the Aldi's, drawing your attention to the Aldi's receipt contained in that exhibit.
Yes, sir.
What date?
Well, there's a couple here. One's on the 15th, one's on the 16th. There's two on the 15th. Well, that might be a copy. No, there's different items.
The one on the 16th.
Okay.
That is, what store?
Aldi's, store number 28, 1033 Commerce Parkway, Ashland, Ohio.
And what time is the time on that receipt?
9:33 a.m.
And that's what you used to see if there was video, to see if she was by herself?
Correct.
And I think you told us she was alone.
Correct.
Now, at the time you were in the apartment, did you photograph the apartment on that occasion?
We did not.
Show defense counsel states exhibit 273. Show you states exhibit 273. And that's a 2-page document. You agree with me?
It is.
Okay. What is the first page?
The first page is the first time we went into Elizabeth Griffith's apartment and took the receipts and the notebooks.
Okay, and what's the date that you were there?
We were there on the 8th, but they were entered into evidence on the 14th.
Okay. And so that's an evidence control log,
Yes,
for lack of a better term? And what's its purpose?
to track the movement of property.
Okay. And those items on the front page, those are the items collected by whom?
I collected them
Okay. And then you put them where?
into evidence.
And then they're stored in a secure manner within the department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did any of the notebooks with phone numbers or notations, did any of those pan out as a lead in the case?
They did not.
So safe to say that when you're in Elizabeth Griffith's apartment on September 8th, you were looking for documentation of whereabouts?
Correct.
You're interested in her movements,
Yes.
and you'd be interested with people that she came into contact with.
Yes.
Were you also interviewing witnesses in the days to follow?
I was.
When you were in the apartment on September 8th, had there been a slip of paper with a name written across it? Would that have been something that would interest you?
Yes, sir.
That's the sort of evidence you're looking for, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you didn't find anything like that there?
No, sir.
At some point, then, as you're talking to witnesses, did the name Lori Spillick come up?
It did.
And do you recall how you got her name?
I was speaking with, well, I spoke to two people on the 10th, and one of those people dropped another name who had driven Elizabeth Griffith and Lori to a church in the Rouseburg area, and that's how I got her name.
Okay. And that would have been the 10th?
Yes, sir.
And that was what day of the week?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay. And were you working on Sundays?
I did not.
Okay. So you weren't immediately able to locate this Lori?
No, sir.
With reference September 13th, the morning of September 13th, did you become aware that officers had been dispatched to a location on Covert Court?
Yes, sir.
When did you become aware of that situation?
I received a phone call from Lieutenant Streffler to update me on what was happening.
Okay. And at the time, what was your understanding of the allegation that had occurred at Covert Court?
There was a sexual assault and abduction.
And in fact, that caller, it was almost sort of still in progress when officers arrived. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. And for the city of Ashland, it's a significant event, correct?
Yes.
Just by itself.
Yes.
All right. So what did you do once you were updated on that by Lieutenant Schreffler?
I wasn't at work yet. I was still getting ready, so I came into work and contacted the other three detectives to get them rolling in there, and started trying to organize things.
And at some point, did you become aware of the victim's name?
Yes, Lieutenant Streffler told me.
Okay. And who did he tell you was the victim?
Lori Spillick.
And did you find that interesting?
That it was, because that's who was on my list to contact that day,
Okay.
to look for.
So that was already a name that was sort of on the mind in an investigation.
Correct.
Did she come on station?
Yes.
And did you or any of your fellow officers speak to her?
I spoke to her initially. I was the only one there, so they brought her in, and I spoke to her before another detective arrived.
What was her demeanor?
She was distraught. She was upset, quiet.
And Did she make allegations, criminal allegations, in your conversation with her?
She did.
Okay. And generally speaking, what were the nature of these allegations?
She told me that she had been raped multiple times and that she had been physically assaulted.
Okay. And about how long did you spend talking to her?
It wasn't long. It was 10 minutes tops.
And then did any of your fellow detectives carry on the process of investigation with respect to Lori?
Yeah, Detective Kim Major arrived and took her back to her office to continue that interview.
Okay. And what did you do at that point?
It was at that point that the person that they had taken into custody arrived on station, and I started talking to him.
Okay, and what was his name?
Shawn Michael Grate.
Now let's, before we get into that, let's skip ahead a little bit. Did there come a time when you went a second time to Elizabeth Griffith's apartment?
Yes, sir.
What was your purpose in going there a second time?
We were going there to look for some items that we had learned could be evidence in the case.
Okay, and when did you go to Elizabeth's apartment the second time?
September 22nd.
Okay. Now, by September 22nd, you had interviewed the defendant, correct?
Correct.
And so had, who else had interviewed him?
Detective Kim Major.
Okay. And we've heard testimony that even that day on the 13th, that BCI crime technicians went through the house at Covert Court.
Correct.
So I guess the details of what happened to Elizabeth are well known at this point, that you're back at her place.
Yes.
And what items were you looking for?
Yahtzee box, some empty pill bottles, a Samsung flip phone, and a bottle of hair conditioner.
Okay. And on this occasion, when you went back, did you photograph the apartment?
Yes.
Why photograph it the second time and not the first time?
The first time we had no indication that there was a crime scene.
And the second time?
The second time we had information that there was a crime scene there.
Okay. And what sort of crime scene was it?
Things that the defendant had touched, re-entered the apartment and touched sometime after Griffith's disappearance and murder.
So it's exhibit 265, 266, and 267. Would you publish these, Judge?
Any objection?
No objection.
So your state's exhibit 265, what do we see there?
That would be an overall picture of the living area of the apartment.
Okay. And what is of interest to us in this photograph?
The Yahtzee box on the chair there.
Right. And did you collect that box?
I did.
Should defense counsel 270? I'll show you what we marked for purposes of identification as state's exhibit 270. You recognize that item?
That would be the Yahtzee box collected from the apartment.
Appear to be in substantially the same condition as when you collected it?
Yes, sir.
Draw your attention to the table in the middle of that. Blow this up a little bit on the screen next to you. That bottle there.
That's a bottle of the conditioner.
Okay, so there's a bottle of conditioner there. You were also, did you also collect a bottle of conditioner?
I did.
It's 271, defense counsel. Show you an item with marked as State's Exhibit 271. Can you tell what that is from the bag?
The description on the bag says it's a bottle of conditioner.
Okay. Stick that in here and draw your attention to State's Exhibit 267.
Yes, sir. That's a supply of the same type of conditioner extra.
Okay, so there are many bottles within the apartment of this condition.
Yes, sir.
If you would, please, let's look at the Exhibit 271. 271, let's have a look at the bottle containing it. All right, so that's sort of a representative bottle of all of these bottles that were there.
Yes.
Your Honor, if we could black out the... I'm going to show you what we previously marked as State's Exhibit 26. We previously published that photo, Your Honor. All right, we've had prior testimony. This is the bathroom area in 363 Covert Court.
Okay.
I'll draw your attention to that bottle right there.
Yes, sir.
That the same kind of shampoo bottle as, what was it, Elizabeth Griffith's house?
It looks like it.
Now, State's Exhibit 273 has the second page, correct?
Yes.
What is the second page?
That's the second time we went back to the apartment.
And the second time you went back to the department, you took these items of evidence that we've been discussing here.
Yes.
Copy and bottle conditioner.
Yes.
And are those, is the collection of that evidence documented within that property control form?
Yes, sir.
And who collected those items?
I would have collected them,
Okay, and then what'd you do with them?
placed them in the evidence.
And that movement of those items is documented on the second page of that exhibit?
Yes, sir.
Now, on this occasion, when you're in Elizabeth Griffith's apartment for the second time, third line here, is you went ahead and collected Griffith's bank card, EBT card, and Ohio ID.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes,
Had you seen those items in there previously?
I had.
And when would that have been?
The first time I was there would have been the 8th.
Okay, so you saw her ID and a bank card were already in the apartment.
Yes, sir.
You didn't collect those at that time?
No, sir.
Why not?
I didn't feel that it would help me find her.
Okay.
I had that information at the office.
Well, if she was somewhere and there wasn't a crime, she'd come back and you would have swiped her ID,
Correct.
correct? Okay. And by September 22nd, she wouldn't be needing it.
Correct.
All right. Now, from an investigative standpoint, did you think it was odd that when you're in there on the 8th, her ID and bank card were there?
I did.
And at that point, about how long did it appear she had been missing?
We believed the last contact that I could document was on the 16th of August.
Okay. So, a few weeks.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of an ominous find then within the apartment on the 8th.
Yes.
Find her ID and her bank card.
Yes.
The bottle of conditioner in states 271, does that appear to be in substantially similar condition to the way it appeared when you first collected it?
It does.
I'll show you what we marked as States Exhibit 266. Your Honor, if we could publish 266.
Any objection?
No objection, Judge, thank you.
What are we looking at here?
This is a bottle, or I'm sorry, a drawer that had some empty and expired prescription medication bottles to Elizabeth Griffith that was in the kitchen.
And the empty pill bottles are just put back in there?
Yes.
And did you collect these pill bottles?
Yes.
About how many are there there?
Uh, 16, 17? 17.
Looks like there's some green pills up at the top of the picture. Maybe some pills, a couple of those, but for the most part, those are mostly empty. bottles.
Most of them seemed empty, yeah.
Most of them are empty. All right. Now, States Exhibit 265, 266, and 267. Did they all fairly and accurately represent Elizabeth Griffith's apartment as you saw it on September 22nd?
Yes.
Going back to 265, the overall picture of the living area, is that the same way it looked as when you were in it on the 8th?
It is.
So when you came back in on the 22nd, nothing had changed?
Didn't appear to be.
I'll tell you what, we're about an hour and 20 minutes in. It'd be a good time to take a break anyway. So, ladies, Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take about a 10-minute or so break. It's now 4:06 according to the court clock. Again, don't draw any conclusions, opinions, don't discuss this case among yourselves. Please comply with the court's admonitions, and we'll be in recess.